Peace, family. This is Tariq. Welcome back again for another day, another episode of Knowledge Corner. All right, today's insight. Pay attention to the red and green flags. Pay attention to the red and green flags. I got this from the song of the day, Make It Last by Confunction. This is off of their 1978 album entitled Love Shine. The song is about, making a relationship, last. But the part of the song that resonated with me that I'm going to be focusing on is the beginning of the second verse when they sing, "Take your time. Don't try to hurry. Just take your time. There's no need to hurry." Pay attention to the red and green flags. I'm old enough to have been in a few relationships in my lifetime. There are 4 relationships that I consider important relationships to me. 2 of those relationships I have children within. 2 of those relationships I've been married within. What I have learned through relationship after relationship is you have to pay attention to a person's red and green flags. We all have red and green flags depending on where you are within your journey in this life. For me, there may be someone who meets me, a woman who meets me, who may think I have red flags. And that may just be because where she is. I myself, I don't smoke. I really don't drink like that. I don't go out. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a homebody, but there's a lot of things that I no longer do. So for a woman who does those things, I would be a red flag. Excuse me. Now, if you are a very spiritual person, if you are, reading the Bible or reading the Quran, whatever your holy book is, if you're reading that on a regular basis, if you're, wanting to go and better your body, by going to the gym or, doing some sort of exercise on a regular basis, then that may be a green flag for you, because those are things that I do. I actually just started really getting back into working out after being away for a long time. So my body is sore. But that comes with growth. Soreness, when you're working out, is a good thing. But when I think of red and green flags within a person, a lot of us overlook a lot of the red flags because we're so anxious and so ready to be in a relationship. We overlook them and we automatically think that, oh, I'll just be able to change that person. And newsflash, a person is not going to change unless they want to change. So regardless of what you think you're going to be able to do, that person is not going to change unless they want to do. Even if you say, hey, I don't like how you do this, or I don't like how you do that, they could be like, okay, and just keep it moving. They're not going to change unless they want to. And there's a certain way that you talk to people within a relationship. That's going to be a lot different for a man and a woman. For a man, we're a lot more direct. We're a lot more blunt. So for a woman to speak to a man, you're going to have to speak to him in a way that logically makes sense to him. You can't speak to a man on an emotional level because men generally aren't really in tune or in tap with their emotions like a woman. As far as a woman goes, when a man speaks to a woman, a man really has to be aware and cognizant of what he says and how he says it. Because in a lot of ways, the old saying goes, you get more bees with honey. There's a way that you have to speak, to a woman in order for her to understand and for her to grasp what you're saying. You can't speak to a woman like you would speak to a man. And that is something that I've learned, over the years. My ex-wife, used to tell me all the time, you speak too rough to our daughters. They're not little boys. So you have to be aware with that. So me having two little girls has really, really taught me how to speak to women. Even though I never had any problems with that, I just know how to speak to them just from dealing with my little girls. And both of them are totally different. They're night and day. But again, the concept is still the same. But when I think of a relationship and when you are wanting to be in a relationship, a lot of us, we meet someone, we go out, on a date, maybe one or two, then we're actually having sex with that person. And then in some cases, within like a month or two, they're moving in with each other. That's entirely too quick for you to even want to be with someone. We have a lot of children in this world from relationships that shouldn't have been, because people rushed into a physical relationship with the person and not really getting to know who that person was. Red flag in someone. If a person has multiple children by multiple people, especially for a man, if a man has multiple children with multiple women, and you know for a fact that he doesn't take care of any of those, you're not going to be any different. That's just what it is. Unless he's decided to change, you're not going to be able to change that man. And you're actually having another child with him, and you're going to end up being a single mom. For a man, if you're dealing with a woman who has multiple, children with multiple men, some people may say her decision-making skills are off. That may be a red flag for you. That may be a green flag for you. Who knows? Red flags and green flags are really in the eye of the beholder. For me, that's not anything that I really sought after, me personally. I've been blessed and I've been fortunate. The older I've gotten, the more I understand and the more I realized I'm using my discernment to understand and navigate my way through relationships. My current wife, we met, we used to work together at one point, and we didn't start dating for months after we met. We actually had a work meeting one day. It was a lunch, and that was our first time actually talking to each other. And this may have really been maybe 5 or 6 months after we actually met. And then within the month, we actually went out on our first date. But for myself, I wanted to make sure that I didn't rush into this because I saw a lot of green flags in her. I just wanted to make sure I didn't see any red flags. And the longer you are what the old people call the courting stage, the longer you're in the courting stage, you'll start to see a person's true colors. Because a person who's really wanting to force you and make you jump into a relationship right after you meet them is probably not the type of person that you want to be with. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 7. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. So if a person really loves you, or if a person is really getting to a point to where they're loving you, then that is a love that is patient. That is a love that's going to endure because you're not rushing into things. Again, I've been blessed and I've been fortunate, even though me and my ex-wife are no longer together. We have a very good relationship. We co-parent very well. I love her to death. The reason why I can say that is because she gave me two of the most precious things a woman can ever give a man, and those are my two daughters. There's nothing that can take that away from her. So for me, and if a man should want to look at any woman who gives him a child, they want to look at them in a different way, because I'm not saying you put them on a pedestal. I'm not saying that at all. But that is a gift that not a lot of men have. I could, God willing, I could die tomorrow and my legacy lives on because I have children. That is your legacy, your children. And I'm blessed and I'm grateful that I have a very good, co-parent in my ex-wife. My son's mom, she gave me my son. She gave me, my heir, to my throne. Even though our relationship has been up and down over the years, now we're in a very good place. I can really talk to her and she can talk to me. We can literally have a conversation with each other now, and not get upset with each other. There were years that we did that. But with time comes wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So now, because we're older and our son is older, we've seen the error in our ways, and we've actually been able to sit down and actually talk about that. That's love. Again, that's an enduring love, that has carried us out over 30 plus years. Even though we haven't been in a physical relationship since we were young. But still, I still have a love for her that will never go away. Even though I love my wife totally different than I love the two mothers of my children, I still love them. Surah Ash-Shura, which is the 42nd surah or chapter. This is the 43rd ayat or verse. But indeed, if any show patience and forgive, that would truly be an exercise of courageous will and resolution in the conduct of affairs. As I just said, my son's mom, our relationship has not always been good. But I've been able to forgive her, and she's been able to forgive me for things that have happened, in our past. That is love. That is a green flag when someone is able to forgive. And even though I don't forget, there's a difference. I forgive. I don't forget. I don't hold grudges. I'm not the type of person that's going to hold a grudge, because I don't want to have anyone have that level of power over me. And when you hold a grudge with someone, then they have power over you, regardless of what you think of it. Again, I've gotten to a point in life to where I just don't fool with certain people because we just don't click anymore. That is one of my green flags. if I'm not dealing with you, I don't have to deal with you on a regular basis. I could deal with you in passing. We all have our different red and green flags when it comes to relationships, whether that be a couple relationship or a friend relationship. You want to go into any relationship with a level of understanding that everyone doesn't think and act like you. That is something that I've had to learn over the years. Everyone doesn't think of a relationship the way I do. Everyone is not going to think of a relationship the way you do. That's what makes a relationship a relationship. You have to understand and be able to compromise with the person that you're in a relationship with. Because if you're not able to compromise, then you're not going to be able to be in a relationship long term. And there are a lot of people who are in and out of relationships because they're not able to compromise. I remember I was talking to a lady once, in a store, and she was telling me, yeah, I really want to be in a relationship, but but I like my space, and I'm not trying to get that up. So she really was basically saying she wants to have a friends with benefits type of situation. And there's a lot of people like that. But I will say this. That's only going to last for so long, because someone in that relationship is going to end up catching feelings. Um, I'm not saying it's going to be the woman. I'm not saying it's going to be the man. But someone in that relationship is going to end up catching feelings. And because we're not built to be that way. We're not built to just casually have sex with each other and then just go on about our business. But for me, just listening to her, that is a red flag for me. That may be a green flag for someone. But for me, wanting to be, in a relationship with a woman, that's a red flag. So again, we all know what our red flags and our green flags are. It's just a matter of understanding that everyone's red and green flags are different. So like I said, take your time. There's no need to hurry. Just take your time, and love will be on its way when it's meant to be on its way. That's it. So as always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and positive energy activates constant elevation. Peace.